Common railroad worker injuries. What is FELA? The Federal Employers Liability Act, or FELA, is a federal law that gives railroad workers a fault-based path to compensation when employers' negligence contributes to railroad worker injuries.
Unlike no-fault workers' comp, FELA requires injured railroad workers to show the railroad employer failed to provide a reasonably safe workplace, such as safe rail cars, tools, training, or procedures, under a broad safety statute aimed at the railroad industry. Successful FELA claims can recover medical expenses, lost wages, diminished earning capacity, pain and suffering, and other losses tied to injuries sustained on the job. Who is covered under FELA? FELA covers most railroad employees of common carrier railroads engaged in interstate commerce. Coverage applies when a worker is injured on the job and can show that the employer's negligence, even in small part, caused or contributed to the harm, whether from common injuries like yard accidents and falls around rail cars, or from cumulative trauma and toxic exposures. Common railroad injuries and illnesses. Railroad injuries can range from short-term injuries, such as broken bones, to long-term physical injuries, such as permanent disability. FELA also covers non-physical injuries, such as cancer diagnosis and Parkinson's disease resulting from chemical exposure. Physical injuries in FELA claims. FELA cases often involve significant physical trauma due to the hazardous nature of yard, track, and equipment work. Railroad employees are routinely exposed to heavy machinery, unstable walking surfaces, and physically demanding labor, all of which can result in severe injury when employers fail to maintain a safe work environment. Common physical injuries covered under FELA include broken bones and fractures from slips, trips, and falls on ballast or uneven terrain. Crush injuries from coupling or uncoupling rail cars or being pinned between equipment. Shoulder and knee tears from repetitive lifting, pulling, or carrying heavy tools and materials. Back and neck injuries caused by repetitive strain or improper ergonomics around railroad machinery. Lacerations and amputations from unguarded or defective tools and equipment. Head and traumatic brain injuries, TBI, from falls, impacts, or being struck by moving rail cars. Spinal cord injuries leading to partial or total paralysis after major yard accidents. Burns from contact with hot surfaces, steam lines, or electrical components. Hearing loss from prolonged exposure to loud engines, horns, or maintenance work without proper ear protection. Eye injuries from flying debris, sparks, or chemical exposure. Respiratory illnesses caused by long-term inhalation of diesel fumes, dust, or asbestos-related materials. Soft tissue injuries and sprains resulting from repetitive stress or awkward body positioning. Falls from moving rail cars, being struck by equipment, or exposure to unsafe tools can result in temporary or permanent disability, sometimes ending a railroad worker's career. Because FELA applies even when the railroad's negligence is minimal, proof that the carrier failed to provide a reasonably safe workplace, such as through poor lighting, faulty handbrakes, ignored safety signals, inadequate staffing, or lack of proper training, can satisfy the legal standard for liability. Protecting your claim. After any incident, document the scene. Photograph hazardous conditions, defective equipment, or missing safety features. Identify witnesses who observed the event or unsafe practices. Seek prompt medical attention and maintain detailed medical records. Notify your union representative and consult an experienced FELA attorney to safeguard your rights to compensation for lost wages, medical expenses, and diminished earning capacity. Illnesses linked to railroad work. While many FELA claims involve acute trauma, a large number stem from occupational diseases caused by long-term exposure to hazardous substances in the rail industry. Railroad employees, particularly those in maintenance, repair shops, locomotive cabs, and right-of-way operations, are routinely exposed to diesel exhaust, asbestos, silica dust, welding fumes, and chemical solvents used in degreasing, cleaning, and maintenance work. These hazards can cause serious and sometimes fatal illnesses that develop slowly over time. Many workers only learn the connection between their symptoms and their employment years or even decades later. A successful FELA illness claim often turns on proving a causal link between the illness and the employee's work duties. Evidence that the railroad failed to follow safety rules or industry standards, such as OSHA regulations, FRA safety codes, or internal safety policies. Medical documentation connecting exposure levels to the disease. Your legal team will collect duty histories, exposure records, testing data, and expert medical opinions to establish how the railroad's negligence contributed to the illness. Cancers linked to railroad employment. Long-term exposure to carcinogenic substances used or generated in railroad operations has been linked to a range of cancers. Common FELA-related cancers include lung cancer from diesel exhaust, asbestos, and silica dust. Bladder cancer linked to solvents, degreasers, and diesel fumes. Leukemia and lymphoma associated with benzene exposure in fuels and cleaning agents. Kidney cancer connected to metalworking fluids and industrial solvents. Colon and rectal cancers linked to prolonged chemical exposure and poor ventilation. Skin cancer from UV exposure and petroleum-based compounds. Mesothelioma caused by asbestos insulation, brake pads, and locomotive components. Throat, nasal, and sinus cancers due to chronic inhalation of dust and fumes. Pancreatic and liver cancers from long-term chemical exposure in shop environments. These illnesses often appear decades after exposure, requiring expert testimony to link historical job duties to the development of disease. Non-cancer occupational illnesses. Not all railroad-related illnesses are cancerous. Many workers suffer from chronic, debilitating conditions caused by repetitive or toxic exposures over time. Examples include chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, COPD, and asthma from inhaling diesel and silica dust, asbestosis and pleural thickening from asbestos exposure, chemical burns and skin disorders from degreasing agents and industrial solvents, hearing loss due to long-term exposure to high-decibel engines and equipment, neurological damage from heavy metal and solvent exposure, chronic fatigue and headaches from poor air quality in enclosed locomotive cabs, reproductive or endocrine disorders linked to certain chemical exposures, vision loss or eye irritation from welding arcs, dust, and chemical fumes. Even when symptoms seem minor at first, they may indicate serious progressive disease. Railroad workers are encouraged to document symptoms early and seek medical evaluation if they suspect work-related exposure. Protecting your rights. If you've been diagnosed with a serious illness after years of railroad work, seek medical evaluation and request documentation that references occupational exposure. Preserve employment and exposure records showing job titles, work sites, and chemical contact. Consult an experienced FELA attorney to help link your diagnosis to your railroad employment and prove negligence. FELA provides a path for injured and ill workers to recover medical expenses, lost wages, and future income losses when the railroad's negligence played any role,
even a small one, in causing the harm.
Do you qualify for an injured railroad worker claim under FELA?
You may qualify for compensation under FELA if you were an employee of a common carrier railroad, were hurt on the job, and your employer's negligence played any part, however small, in causing the injury or illness.
Qualifying incidents include yard or train operations, coupling cars, defective equipment or machinery, unsafe footing, inadequate staffing or training, and exposure to toxic agents during employment.
The law gives you 3 years from when you knew or should have known the injury was work-related to begin filing a lawsuit in injury or wrongful death cases, so acting promptly helps protect your rights. Follow these steps to strengthen your claim. Get medical care and make the provider aware it was work-related. Preserve photos of the scene, tools, and equipment involved. Collect names and telephone numbers of witnesses and coworkers. Keep all work restrictions, bills, and pay records showing pay loss and suffering, and speak with an attorney before giving statements to a claim agent. If you were employed by a railroad and believe the carrier is liable, contact us today to evaluate your FELA eligibility. Gianaris Trial Lawyers, fighting for injured railroad workers under FELA. For decades, our firm has represented railroad employees injured around trains, cars, track, and shop machinery, holding employers accountable when unsafe practices cause suffering or death. We investigate procedures, maintenance, and staffing to show how the railroad's choices violated the law and why the carrier is liable under FELA. From documenting defective equipment to interviewing witnesses and preserving black box and video evidence, we handle the heavy lifting while you focus on healing. If you or a loved one was hurt during railroad employment, contact Gianaris Trial Lawyers today to speak with an attorney and get clear guidance on next steps.